Thank you, Brian. Well, it's exciting time, right? And looking forward to obviously the start of this game week, but the start of the season. And appreciate all the work and the efforts by many to get us to this point, and yet all of that is just for the reason, and it's the season. And so appreciate that, and that's I think part of the reason why I'm excited. I like this group and kind of the way they've come together. Obviously as a team and individual players, coaches, we all got to continue to work and get better. But it's a fun group to be around, and like I said, we're excited to get going for the season, and thrilled actually to be able to open up at home, with fans in the stands, and obviously it'll be a heck of a challenge, facing a really good team in Penn State, but looking forward to getting going this week and getting the season started.
Mike's on both sides. Okay.
Well, obviously personnel changes from year to year, teams have different identities, but just offensively, what would you like to see your team do better this year than maybe some things that didn't work as well a year ago?
Yeah, I think what I'll answer two things that kind of stood out in the question. The first is when you talk about identity, and what I'd like for really our offense, the same would be said for our defense and special teams, right? Is the identity, I think, of your good teams. It takes on the personality of the players, right? And want it to be that, and collectively want it to be an identity that complements the other parts of the team. There's no doubt that for us to be the best team we can be, for us to be the best offense we can be, I think that there has to be more consistency in production. I do believe that for this offense to be the best it can be, it's going to take a lot of different guys contributing, and it's and that can be exciting, and it's going to take everyone. But I do believe that to be true with this group, that not one guy is going to be able to, nor should he have to carry it, right? We've got to take everyone, and that's what's also what I enjoy about the season is, right, that you got to do it each play and each day, each game, and then you got to repeat it, and that's how you build. But in the end, you'd like to say you were a consistent offense.
Paul, you mentioned
I can hear you.
okay. You mentioned in the past one of your favorite things is seeing how guys grow in their time in college. How have you seen that growth in Fayette Hicks, even off the field, now in this fifth year?
Yeah, it's you're right. That is, to me, one of the more enjoyable parts of what I get to do and be around, and that is the growth. Growth as a player, growth as a person, and Fayon it's been awesome to see, and now I think he's truly confident in so many aspects. Confident as a player, confident as a leader of this team, and it's come by, I think, a lot of work that he's put into it. But while doing that, he's always been a great teammate, and certainly I've always thought he's talented. But I think that it's kind of as guys mature and get older, I think you kind of see the genuine confidence. It kind of puts them at ease, and it's almost relaxes them a little bit more. Even though I think they're playing a little bit more on an edge and sharp. But I think what he means to this team has been fun to see too, and his voice is heard, and I think it's heard and valued because of the way that he goes about his day-to-day business, and he's a guy that's consistent, and I think so when the actions that he does or the words that he uses, it's coming from someone that lives it and lives it every day. It's been neat to see.
Well, there was a Friday practice, I think, in the middle of the month, where Joe Chipman appeared to have a really good practice on Friday. Next day, he was running with the ones. What did you guys see as a staff that allowed you to make that change and keep him there as the rest of the camp went on?
I think Tip is just, one, he's always were impressed with and thought that he had really good ability and liked that his kind of where he's young, but like his football understanding, and thought that a really good spot for him would be center, and didn't have spring really to work on that, and so this fall camp was going to be really important for him, and you kind of see him each day take those steps needed in growing, right? And he's still got a ton of stuff to continue to do, but I think takes the coaching points and wants to apply them, and that part's been fun to watch.
Paul, about the offense, you mentioned wanting to be more consistent, but as the play caller, do you see more areas where you can create some explosive plays that might not have been there last season?
I think that, certainly every offense, you want to be that. And yet I think that there's a balance that needs to happen, that explosive plays come in a number of different ways. They can come from, the goal is all 11 guys do their job, right? And if they can win on that play, then you've got a chance, whether it's a run or a pass, you've got a chance for an explosive play. Now, the team you're playing has good players too, right? And they would say the same thing. I think that there's also opportunities that I think a lot of people think explosive plays like, okay, we got to throw the ball down the field, or we got to create maybe a special. And I think there's a place for that, certainly. But it can also be, like I said, in a run game where everyone's doing their part, and someone from the backside is coming and changing a run from 10 yards to getting that block that springs it for 20 or more. The same can be said for the quarterback getting the ball out of his hands on time and hitting the receiver right out of his breaks. So now there isn't as much the defensive back or whatever the defender is enclosing on him. Now he can get some yards after the catch. So I think that you've got to try to coach and play good football. And I think if you do that, then the big plays or explosive plays become a byproduct of it. I think if you've seen it, and there may be times where you've got a running back, and if he's trying to make every run a big run, that you miss out on the 3, 4, 5, 6 yard runs, and sometimes those ones, and you break a tackle, turn into a big one. So I think you got to be careful chasing it, but I think you certainly have to be opportunistic when they are presented, that you feel confident you can take advantage of it.
Penn State has a new offensive coordinator. In your preparations, how do you game plan for that? Not knowing exactly what you'll face, this probably happens a lot in the first game anyway. And what other areas do you think Penn State can challenge you offensively?
Yeah, you said it in first games. There's always, whether it's they have returning, whether it's coaches or the players. You try to find a starting point, but you really don't know what to expect. And quite honestly, you can be in the 12th game of the season, and nowadays you're going to see something in each game that you aren't prepared for, that they hadn't shown on film. And so I think that there's always a balance, and it'll be that way, certainly for us defensively, that you have to, have rules and follow it, and you have to go off of what you think they can do, but knowing that it's going to cover really more than just what you've seen on film, right? And I think that's always the challenge, whether it's defensively or offensively in your special teams. And I think when you go back to games in general, and particularly first games, I think the number one goal is you still try to make sure that you as a team and you as an individual unit or individual person, you kind of are buttoned up and take care of what you can control. And knowing that you're gonna, I think you almost have to prepare them. There's gonna be some things that you don't know. And yet it falls into this rule and you're good and go play.
Sure. I'll have a two-parter. I'll just go with one for simplicity's sake.
It's always stumped me.
Yeah, confuse myself more than I confuse you. The depth chart doesn't have a lot of surprises on it, but I think one notable thing is that Ches won the starting job at tailback. What did he show you to beat out Jalen's best spot?
Yeah, I think what he's done is he's been really consistent, you know, and that I think it means a lot. And as you know or could easily guess, you know, I think we're still in a position where we've got to have a number of backs play and play well. But, you know, I think that he is, you know, that was one that as we went into camp, you know, there was a lot of questions at that position. And yet, I think each one of them has taken positive strides. You know, it's been great having Isaac going. And, you know, I think with him being able to practice every day, which, you know, in the past that wasn't always the case, you know, you build some confidence. And Jalen, you know, he's still young, and it's been good to see him continue to grow, you know, and I think Braylon's got some things that he can give us. And, you know, Brady Shipper's done some really good things throughout camp. But I think Ches is, you get back to Ches, I think he's been the most consistent player at that position we've had, and that's been good for this team.
You kind of just hit on this, but you know, Gary Brown was saying on media day that in a perfect world, he wants one workhorse back, a good complimentary guy, and then number 3 and 4 you can count on.
Right.
Are you to that? Do you think there'll be more of a split early on until that develops, or where are you in that process, do you think?
Yeah, I think that is, I think all of us as coaches, that's a great world to be in. And it'll be, I think that's part of part of the story that isn't answered yet. You know, to sit there and say, this is going to happen, I don't know that we're there yet. You know, but I think that, you know, that's always a good way to live, right? We got this one and we're going with them, and this is your change up, or this is that change up guy. I think we still got to play the games.
We got you, Steve. So, Coach, while we're talking about the running back room, I was kind of wondering Chez's leadership with Jalen being young, but Jalen having played majority of the snaps last season, kind of how they've been learning from each other.
Yeah, I think that, you know, in all of our rooms, and the running back room should be no different. And I think Gary sees it that, you know, we all got to help each other. And you know, Ches is certainly, you know, comes at it, has a little different perspective, and has, you know, kind of been around it a little bit longer. But he was also going through some, you know, learning a new offense and learning teammates. And you know, that's where I think where they've all kind of had to do their part in helping each other. And I think that's where John Chanel's been good for that room, you know, and a guy like Ship, you know, he's been around it and probably has as much experience in some ways as anyone else, you know. It takes everyone, and you know, we've kind of always said that around here, and I think it's no more, the running back room is no different. It takes everyone, and I think they all can bring something to it, and they have to for us to be the best. They all got to help each other.
Wondering how you feel about opening with a conference opponent. You had your druthers, but do you like getting right into conference player, but you prefer a non-conference game to start out before getting into Big Ten?
Yeah, I'm excited that, you know, we're going this week, and I'm excited that we're playing Penn State. And obviously, it's you open up with a really good football team. That's a challenge, but it's also a heck of an opportunity. And I think it'll be what a way to, you know, open up this season. And you know, for us, it's a little bit different than maybe for Penn State in the sense that, you know, it's a home game. But you talk about, you know, going through last season with no fans in the stands, and now you say that our home openers against Penn State, you got fans in the stands. It's a heck of a way to start the season, and certainly got a lot of work to do this week, right, to make sure that we're ready to take advantage, because it will be a challenge. They're a good football team.
Paul, on the other side of the ball, Penn State, that coordinator, their defensive guard, has been with Franklin for a long time now. You faced him twice. When you study them, what are some of the problems that he might present, either what he does schematically or how he pressures people? And 'cause it seems like he's able to make adjustments, and if they give up some stuff early, it doesn't come as easy later.
Yeah, I think, I think you're right, Jeff, on that. I think they do a really good job of kind of adjusting and kind of playing the game and throughout the game. And certainly, think back on those games and you watch, you gotta be careful of studying those tapes too much, right? Because they're different, and the most recent was 18. But you do see, I think, where they do a good job, really offensively, defensively, and especially, I think they've got really good players, and I think they do a nice job of kind of finding that right balance of the scheme can be challenging, and yet I think that you also see the athleticism show up on defense, which, that tells you that they're also letting them play, right? And I think that's, when I look at that, I think that's a sign of a good coaching. That they're not going to give you anything. If something's happening, they've got some good change-ups. I think it really, how they pressure, when they pressure. I think they mix that up the right way, that you've got to be kind of always on your toes with it. And I think the guys play fast, and I think they've got good players, and we're going to see some things. We were talking about offense. There'll be some things that we haven't seen, but I think I got a lot of respect for their coaching staff. Not just James, but their coaching staff, and obviously I think they've got really good football players, and that combination. That's why they're a good football team.
Paul, you've been asked a couple times throughout camp about Jack Nelson. Not many young guys can break through the way that he has. In your mind, what has stood out about his ability that he started to generate more looks in spring and has gotten to this point?
Yeah, I think it's the combination of, that he's physically, you feel like he's ready, and that's a lot of work that's gone into that. And then I think, maturity-wise, football, kind of where he's at, he's done a good job of grasping it, and he certainly applies, puts in a ton of time with that, so that, I think he's done everything he can to give himself the best chance. And that's what earns you those opportunities. And then I think with it, I think he goes out, and one of the things I think he does a great job of is how he practices. He practices like it's a game. So he's going to put it out there, and he's going to learn. There's going to be some things he's not flawless, right? But he'll learn from it and doesn't repeat those mistakes. And so I think it's kind of the combination, right? That physically he's ready, and kind of his approach, he's ready, and I think that's what's put him in this position.
Paul, guessing you have a pretty good idea what true freshmen might see action early this season. Do you mind sharing who's in that group?
Yeah, I think that we've got a number of guys that they're kind of could show up on special teams, and we're excited about that. Hunter Moore will be one of those. Braylon will be one. I know that Marcus Allen's in the depth. I think there's a couple other guys that are getting close. All right, that's
One more.
I know you kept getting snubbed early, like the hand was up, the hand was up, the hand was up. Just because you screwed that up doesn't mean we
Obviously, the first game's still on the way, but how have you liked kind of taking back control of the offense and just your new role within the staff? How have you kind of liked that, particularly working with Greg more for this one?
I mean, I've enjoyed every day that you get to be here. Whether it's and there are different, each year is a little bit different, but I've enjoyed it, and that's not to say I didn't enjoy the times before, so I don't know that one or the other, I appreciate being able to be here, and I appreciate being able to work with these guys, and I always get energy from these players and from our coaches, so it's feel fortunate.